Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hollywood Mate Connolly with the double biceps. It is in the contract a legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. This is the Daily Combat Podcast. Welcome to the show. The co-host, co-founder, co-breather of air, co-wearer of clothes. In this very room, it is in fact the master of a disaster, the king of sting, the Count of Monte Cristo. It is, in fact, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award. It is, in fact, Dave Stockbridge. Stockbridge, welcome to your own show.
Thank you very much for that very, very warm introduction, Hollywood Matt Connolly, as always. And we have a very special guest with us today, Nora Schultz, who is legitimately a world champion. And I think our very first world champion here on the Daily Combat Podcast. So congratulations, well done, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, we've never had the chance to do one for a world champion before, so I felt like, it was worth reheaing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, did I get every line correct?
You did well.
I'll take it off. Hang on. Master of disaster.
And do you have a fighter's nickname? Like, is it like Nora the disaster Schultz?
You know what? They used to call me Nora Kimura because there's a
clever.
shoulder lock called the Kimura.
Yeah,
but I
fantastic.
don't really actually do them all that much, so it doesn't really.
doesn't
It's
make
never
sense.
really stuck. So
And she's got a deal hook. Don't
She's going for the Kimura. She's definitely
really
it's in her
work,
nickname.
Yes.
Armbars you. Oh, damn
we prepared for weeks.
Yeah.
you gotta get them somehow, right?
That's right, absolutely.
So you're kind of part of that wave at the moment that's happening in the world of BJJ, where it's kind of exploding in popularity before our very eyes, very much like UFC did 10 or 15 years ago, and is really becoming its own thing outside of the MMA world. And how does that feel, being an athlete that's kind of risen up during this time and is now kind of enjoying BJJ being its own thing and not just a pathway to MMA?
It's so cool because it's just coming up, Like, I feel like at this point you can start it like even late as like an adult, like you can be 18, 20 years old, whatever, and still sort of get to a good level.
What about 45?
I mean,
It's all over.
I mean, anything's possible.
Sure.
yeah. I mean, 45, that's really the new 20, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Matt's hoping. Yeah.
No, it's super cool. I feel like it's an awesome sport that's just growing now. Obviously, we've been carried along by the UFC. Like, there's a lot of new spotlight on the sport just because it's brought out there. So it's a really exciting time, and I feel like it's cool to be part of that wave.
Yeah.
So if you'd go that far, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I think very much so.
exciting.
You're part of that wave, and certainly as a world champion. After all, I mean, so what got your interest when it came to the sport? How were you first introduced to the sport and stumbled across it?
I was new in Adelaide. I didn't really know anyone. It was just the first couple of months. I sort of was like a little bit slow on making friends because everybody seemed to just have their tight groups and whatever. Yeah. And then somebody invited me along to go to a jiu-jitsu class, and I was like, whatever. Like, I don't even know what this is. I'll put on the weird kimono, whatever they wear. Just a bunch of sweaty men in a dingy room. That's okay. I'll just go.
So that was your options. I could stay
That's
at
what I
home or
thought, yeah.
sweaty men
Absolutely.
and
Start choking
Yeah.
people out. Yeah. That sounds fun.
I didn't even know it was going to be choking. I was like, it's some sort of martial art, whatever. I'll just go, Then I went, and it was indeed a very big sweaty kimono and like lots of men. And there were girls as well, and everybody was really lovely. And all of a sudden I was like, this is sort of fun,
Yeah.
I just tried it out a few times, and then I went again and again, and then I was hooked. I was like, this is fun. I'll do this.
Kind of found your tribe and did you find it empowering then, all of a sudden, being that person that you just know you could pretty much take anybody out?
Eventually, yeah. It took a little bit of time for that. I think in the beginning I didn't really realize that it was going to be like such an expression of movement and like such a powerful thing where I actually feel like I'm using my body to control somebody else. That's like still wild to me. But I started competing pretty early, and that was awesome because I was like, I've never done anything like this before, where it's literally just 1 versus 1, and whoever does better, they come out on top. So that was a cool experience to me. That was really awesome.
Wow, amazing. And so what was the experience like the first time that you actually walked in and they said, here, did you have to wear a gi first time, or did they just say, just
Some
wear
sweaty dude's
clothes?
gi.
Yeah.
Here, wear this.
Just ring it out. Hang on.
Well, this was actually pretty close to here, just like a little place in the city, which was a normal gym upstairs, but like a basement area, like with like
real
just
dungeon.
jigsaw
Secret
mats,
door.
and you had to be
Smoke.
buzzed in, go
Oh,
up
really?
the stairs through the gym, and then go back down. And it was like half construction area. And my buddy just took me in. And I was
Wow.
like, okay. And they had this actually massive kimono, the ski
Right.
on the hangers there, and they put me in it, and I just sort of tied the belt 4 times around my waist, and I was like, okay, we're doing this now. And you know, there were like maybe like 6-7 people there. It wasn't big or anything, and no like formal class structure or whatever. Everybody just hung out and did their thing, and we sort of learned a technique, and then we rolled a little bit, and yeah, like
Amazing.
good experience. You know,
Yeah.
I went back.
Yeah, and so as you've kind of progressed, who are you training with now, and where are you finding inspiration? And I guess when you start getting to a real elite level, you start to have to look for the right coaches and be in the right environment. And how's that progression been for you?
Adelaide is cool because everybody sort of trains together. There's like a good community where you can cross train a lot. So I ended up training out of a different gym because they were more comp oriented. They were sort of traveling for different, you know, tournaments and whatever. And that was really cool for me to have a group of people that were, you know, serious about competition as well as just training. So I just sort of went over there and trained there a little bit. I'm now going to different gyms and sort of getting in training everywhere. But then I went to the US for a couple months. Just got back from there actually.
Wow.
And that was really cool because obviously that's like the place to be, you know, the level is so high over there. And it's just awesome training with professionals. Like it was a crazy experience.
Wow.
And then, you know, like everything's online now as well. There's so much just content that you can just view on YouTube or like all the instructionals that you can, you know, buy and stuff. And like everybody's got like just, you know, good instructionals out there that you can just watch. So really like all the knowledge is at our fingertips, which is so awesome because it's a new sport that you can go and just train with professionals in the same room and all the content is there. Like you just really need to study it and then drill it and then start applying it. Like everything's there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you tell us a little bit more about that recent trip to America, because it seemed that you went over there to 10th Planet.
I went to B Team.
B
Austin.
Team.
Yeah.
And B Team.
Yeah.
So
They're one of the best teams in the world.
not the name you'd imagine for.
No, that's right. Well, they split from John Danaher's group, and
That's
they formed their
right.
own thing, and it was sort of like a little stab at the Danaher group to say,
There you go.
the Danaher Death Squad to say,
Someone
well,
from-
we'll make our own thing, and you'll call us the B Team, but we're actually awesome as well.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And how did that opportunity come about?
Well, anyone can go, really.
Yeah.
I knew some people over there, so it was, you know, with all the different gyms that I was going to check out, that was sort of the first one that I got to, and I was going to check out different gyms, but sort of just ended up there because it was so cool. I was like, I'm going to make this easy for myself. I'm just going to stay here. But the whole reason I wanted to go over and train with the pros and just see what the level is like over there was because I couldn't really gauge what the girls were.
Yeah.
Like what the level really is. And here, obviously, you have like lots of people that are hobbyists and they do this sport and they train a lot because they want to be competitive, but no one that actually seeks it as a career so much, or maybe like a handful of people, you know, especially with the girls because there's just less of us. So I went over and I thought, I'm just going to train for 3 months. I'm going to compete as much as possible and see, you know, how far off am I really? Like, how much is it going to take for me to make it to that top level? And is it worth it? You know, like in my heart, I was already fully committed, but I think it just still sort of took a little bit of confirmation for me to see, okay, like maybe I will do this, you know?
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. So what was it like first experience you going over there, walking through the doors for B Team and then they're like, so have you done jiu-jitsu before? And you're like, yeah, a little bit.
I was hyping myself up. I was on the bus. First of all, nobody takes the bus in the US, right? So that was already like, you know, didn't have a car. I jumped on the bus. I was like, you know, going the wrong direction first. So I hopped off again. Luckily, I had enough time. So I jumped on the right bus, made my way over there. And the pin on Google Maps was like right next to the building that I had to go to. And it was on Taco Bell. So here am I, like circling around Taco Bell, trying to see, is there like a secret entrance somewhere? I don't know. Are there any signs? I couldn't find it. And then, you know, like 10 minutes later, I'd been walking around the entire like area. All of a sudden, I find this little pop-up sign, like just an A-frame. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Okay. Of course. Walk in. again,
It's like a speakeasy.
Yeah, that's right. You got to know
Yes,
somebody.
exactly,
You got to
exactly.
solve 3 riddles. Have a certain key card.
That's it. Finally made my way in. I had myself up. I was like, okay, I'm doing this now. This is fine. Like this is gonna be cool. Walk in, lovely people at the front desk, lovely people right on their mats. Everybody just got me going straight away. I was almost a little bit late at that point, so I just changed and jumped into class straight away, and it was just cool. You know, honestly, like so simple, so easy. And they obviously, I think the rule was blue belts up. So usually, you know, you have a little bit of experience already. You sort of know how the training works. Now they're opening up to white belts. So really, at this point, anyone can go.
Wow.
But at that point, you know, and because my friends were there, I sort of just latched onto them straight away, and it was pretty easy.
What ranking were you when you got there?
A purple belt.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good timing, I think, going as a purple belt.
Yeah. Was it
Got
this
the
white,
videos
blue, purple? Was that right? Yeah, and the
and
brown,
then
black.
Brown, black.
Right. Yeah. Great. So
Yeah.
you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in the middle there, which is nice,
Right,
you know.
perfect.
Like I can make mistakes, and it doesn't really matter.
Right.
You know, like it's still, you know, everything's easily forgiven. I'm a purple belt. I don't need to know anything, you know. But I'm already at that level where people sort of like, she's been around for a little bit. That's all right. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so good.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love that there's a whole bunch of YouTube videos of like black belts that will go to other gyms and like put a white belt on and then they just destroy everybody but
it's so
pretending that
great.
they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Fooling us.
And they're like, the coach will be like, mate, are you a black belt or not? It's like no one knows how to do that
Out
sweep.
yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe tell us a little bit about your journey of becoming a world champion. Like how did all of that kind of unravel and become a thing?
Well, I sort of became serious about competition step by step, really. I did one, I won, and then I did another one, and I won, and I was like, somehow this is like working out well. Maybe I'm going to keep going. And then I did, just kept doing well. I had a few losses in between that didn't feel so good, and I was like, this really sucks. Like losing sucks more than winning is fun, I think. And then I just kept training and kept just like committing myself to getting better, really. It wasn't so much about winning. It was always about getting better.
Yeah.
And then once I got to the US, and I felt like I was actually doing a lot better than I thought. Just in the training room, I felt like everything was going to be different. My expectation was I'm just going to be absolutely flogged. Like I'm going to feel like I don't know anything. But really they do the same things. They just do them better. So it was like really interesting seeing that, you know, at the end of the day, it's just jiu-jitsu. Like, I just need to learn more, and then I'll be that good too eventually, hopefully. You know, like, obviously there's something about skill and timing and power and all that sort of stuff. But really, you just learn more, and then you get better. I think that's cool about that sport, because it's so skill-based.
And did you feel like it really accelerated you once you're in that room and in that environment surrounded by those people?
Yeah, absolutely. And they give you such profound answers to everything you do. So if I
Just a man in the corner.
I don't know if profound's the right word.
He just dishes out the wisdom.
Do this.
Armbar.
I was watching. You should go with kimono.
Honestly, that's how the guys coach you over there. When you go and compete, they sit on the side and they're like, look for the underhook here, get your butterfly hook in, change your hip angle, go to this sort of position. And it's like, they're just so calm. It's like, I think that's really how their brains work. They
Yeah.
just know exactly what to do.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, when you see like someone like John Danaher coaching from the sidelines, and it's just he'll just say one thing, like he'll be like
So stoic.
underhook,
Yeah.
that'll be it,
Yeah.
and that's like the one thing he says for a minute, you know. And then the other coach is yelling and screaming, and then he'll be like,
Like so much quiet power, right?
that's right, like knee bar, you know, whatever. It's just he knows what to give, and obviously you can see that transition with B Team that they have that sort of similar philosophy where it's like I'm not going to just say a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to give you the information that you need right then.
Real technical advice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there a moment when you started to feel like I can hang with these guys? I'm maybe world class. Maybe I can.
No, I cannot hang with any of those guys. No. The gap is that big. But then I was surprised when I got to Worlds and I didn't have any expectation for myself. I thought, I'm just going to do this now. You know, whatever happens is going to be the best thing for me at this point in my journey. And then it just, you know, worked out so well. And I was like, okay, so maybe there is a difference between fighting an adult male You know,
Yes.
maybe in the training room there is a bit of a point
Slight
where
difference.
maybe I'm not supposed to win this one. I don't know.
A world-class male, 50 kilos
Exactly,
heavier.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
roughly the equivalent of trying to arm wrestle a gorilla.
That's
you
pretty
know,
much
basically.
it. Yeah, that's
I
right.
feel like that's what you do all day, isn't it?
Well, yeah, when I get on the table with guys like this in the corner. Off camera, we've got Josh Barker, one of Australia's best arm wrestlers. We might have a talk with him after, but it's crazy the level when you're surrounded by people that are at a championship level, and you might feel like you're just absolutely getting destroyed, but when you go against somebody that's not of that caliber, and they're like, "My God, how are you so good?" And it's like, "Oh, I don't feel good. I'm getting destroyed constantly." But it's because you're always being humbled and always trying to get better. Whereas somebody who's in like maybe a big fish in a small pond, and they're beating most people, they're not going to improve as rapidly as somebody that, especially when you've got literal world champions teaching you everything.
Yeah.
Right. And are they training twice a day there?
So there's 3 classes. Most of the pros do the noon session, and then some of them would do the evening session. Everybody's sort of got their own training schedule, but there's 3 classes that you can do in a day.
Nice. And so leading up to the Worlds, you decided, that's my target, that was my goal, I'm going to go for that. Wow.
Yeah.
And is that like a tournament structured, like a round robin or a knockout? Or
Not a round robin, it's a
Okay.
knockout. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you win, you advance basically, and then there's a few rounds until you get to the finals.
And
Yeah,
you just
that's
wouldn't
it,
lose,
yeah.
and so kept progressing. Is that how it
She
went?
just won't lose. Just give her the trophy.
It was so fun. It was honestly such a good day. It was great.
And where was that held?
That was in California, in Anaheim.
Okay.
So we traveled with a little group of people that were competing. So
Little people.
little people. A little
In a little
group of
van.
people.
Little people.
Yeah.
Were there 7 of them?
So
Anaheim's
fun.
where Disney World is. So yeah,
I felt
was
like
it held
all
there?
there was the convention center and Disney World.
Nice.
The 2 things. Everything
right.
else just palm trees and long alleys.
Exactly, that's right. So on the day of the World Championship, so you've walked in. Was it a division of purple belt division or?
Yeah, so
right.
you can do your weight division of your belt level, and then you can do the open weight if you win a medal in your division. So if you make it far enough, then you get to qualify to like the open absolute sort of championship.
Right.
And did you know
and
any?
all happens on the same
Did
day.
you know any of your competitors?
No, I didn't. But I watched heaps of footage on them because they had competed before, most of them.
Yeah.
I think everyone but 2 out of the 7 that I had, I could watch footage on them. So that actually helped because I got to prepare a little bit.
So when you're looking at footage of a competitor, like with MMA, they're kind of saying, "Oh, well, he's a stand-up fighter, so I'm going to do this," or "He's a grappler, so I'm going to kind of play this game." But when it's BJJ, what are you looking at in terms of holes in your opponent and ways to get through that? What are you looking for?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you. I've been
practicing that one.
5 points for you.
It's so true. Actually, I mean, when you look at the start of a match, usually either they wrestle or they pull guard, and it's super common amongst all the girls is that they pull guard straight away. So they basically get their grips and they sit down,
Yep.
and then they either play on their back and start to entangle you or whatever, or they look for like a quick sweep or like an open guard or whatever. And so my big question was, is this girl someone that's going to wrestle me, or is this girl someone that's going to pull guard? Because ideally I want to get to my positions as quickly as possible, right? So I was just looking at those 2 distinctive measures basically on the girl, and then other than that, if I could find a pattern, say somebody's really good at Kimuras, for example, I'd just make sure that I watch out for Kimuras. But because it's a tournament, you don't look into the person as much as you would for maybe like a super fight where it's just one person, really, because you don't really know who you're going to get, right? Like if the person wins and advances, or the other way around, if another person wins, then basically you might have just prepared for the wrong person, sort of thing. And I did not look at everybody. It was more who had already won before, who did I think was going to do really well,
And was there a lot of footage out there about you? So did you have any advantage or?
No, because I think the major platform everybody would be looking at is flow grappling, and I had done maybe like maybe like 3 or 4 fights or whatever that would have been streamed on that platform.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much on me. And they seed you like the day before, and I was seated like sort of in the middle, like a little bit on the lower end.
Yeah.
Because I just hadn't done that much, like it's my first experience over there.
So you were like this mystery that they didn't know much about, they couldn't prepare for, they seated you down here, so you were under the radar, and then you came through and bloody took it out.
I think there was no one else that had traveled to Worlds in my bracket. Like everybody was just in the States already. There were a few that had moved there years ago to train, but other than that, like no one truly international.
Wow.
I mean, it makes it easier for me to scope them out and not
for
the other
sure.
way around.
That's right. So your game, is it more that you will do, you're very well rounded, or you're a bit of a specialist? Do you have like a top down game, or so if somebody is pulling guard, you're like, that's exactly what I want you to do.
That's exactly what I want them to do.
Oh, really?
Which is nice because many of the girls actually want to be there, right? So they're playing their strong suit, but also giving me my strong suit at the same time. So that's great for me.
Did you develop that for that reason, or is it just what you naturally fell into anyway?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've been trying to work on my guard. Obviously, I'm trying to make my game more well-rounded and like be good in all the different positions.
Yeah.
But that's sort of what I gravitate to mostly.
So you get top position, and then you're looking to pass, get mount, go for armbar, something like that.
Yeah, I love the back.
Oh, and getting
that's
the back.
usually where I like to go to. Yeah.
Awesome. When somebody rolls over trying to escape or get position, and you're like,
get back here.
You fell into the trap. I kept getting top position and just getting swept constantly. It takes so long to develop that balance and not realize that you've shifted your weight slightly too far that way, and the person on the bottom feels it, and they just whip, and you're well, you know what, you're on your back. God damn it!
Those long limbs.
That's right.
They work for you.
That's right. The guy that I was training with was like 130 kilos, and so when he would get on top of you, you'd have to tap out. You couldn't breathe.
It's done.
It's just sitting on your
Submission
chest.
by suffocation.
Literally couldn't breathe. It's like, I haven't even got you anything. It's like, I can't breathe. Get off.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So you'd start from the knees, and you'd go, okay, go, and just overpower him, sort of thing, and get top position, and then 2 seconds later, I'm on my back, and I was like, God damn it, not again.
What a feeling, right? When somebody does it over and over to you again.
And different ways, and it's like, because you're like, okay, he did that last time, and then it goes the opposite. You're
So, of all the people that you've rolled with now, like, is there somebody that's just kind of gone, you've kind of gone, oh, that's another level, or that's that I can't believe that somebody can do that. Is there anybody like that you've stumbled across this year?
Yeah, all the guys over there that are professionals that are like training like that, and especially the ones that let me work. Like when I'd roll with them, some are like, okay, this is my game, like I'm just gonna do my thing as I usually do. But some of them, they sort of let you work, they give it a little inch, and then when you feel like you're getting close to getting something good, they just effortlessly put you back to where you belong, Like that happened just like so much to the point that you think you don't even know anything,
Right, yeah.
And then you roll with someone brand new and you're like, oh, I actually feel like I know something, But like that emotional experience of having both ends of the spectrum all the time, just, gets me all the time.
Do you find yourself just rolling with like the bigger guys usually because that's the greater challenge, or here in Adelaide, are there many girls kind of your standard that you kind of feel are kind of that level that it's competitive and you're learning something from that?
I train with a few girls regularly, but they're all still pretty fresh. But I feel like with the guys, it's just as good, the training. Like I don't feel like I necessarily need to roll with girls all the time because the guys, they might be a little bit stronger than me. Or like a lot stronger than me, but they have just as technical answers as the girls would, and it just makes me push harder and try and go through that strength barrier, and then also adapt my game, which is interesting because you're not always going to fight someone in your weight division, right? So sometimes it's just a bigger person, and then you have to work out a way around that. And there's also plenty of little people, to train with. So I feel like I have good training partners, like over there, but also here. Like it doesn't really matter so much.
What was it like getting your hand raised as the world champion?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Insane. It felt like it was over so quickly. I did my division first, and I only had 3 matches there to gold. And I think I had like a minute and a half mat time total.
Wow.
So it would just all sort of just happen, and I was like, what? Okay. Okay. Right. And then I signed up for the absolute division for the open weight, and then there was an hour and a half break, and we just all sat down and we sort of talked about it, and I was like, okay. And my friends that were there, they had all lost their matches straight away, so they were super excited for me, but they didn't have anything else to do for the rest of the day. So all of a sudden, I felt like I just had this massive cheer squads, and they were like, okay, we're going to get you ready. You're going to do the open weight too. And then those matches became progressively harder. But then at the end of that, when everything was done, and I was like, oh, wait a second, I just double golded? How does that even happen? that was insane, and I just could not get that thought into my head. And then the entire evening, super excited, also exhausted. We went to bed early. I was still like buzzing a little bit, but we didn't go out party or anything. And then went to bed. Next morning, I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe that happened.
Was that me?
And then by the end of the day, I was just okay.
Wow.
This is
And,
what
you hop on the plane, you go home, like you got to unpack, you got to sort out the day so you can go back training the next day and whatever, and everything was just normal, and everybody started beating me up again. I was like, okay. And nothing's changed. Like really, like it's just the same.
Did you go through any period where you just walked around with your medals just in public?
Just clinking like
Yeah,
that?
just waiting for people to say, hey, what's that for? Well, as it turns out,
Absolutely
I'm
not.
double champ. World champ.
world
At
champion.
the end of the day, nobody cares. It's like, what even is jiu-jitsu? It's such
That's
a
because you're not
random
wearing
sport.
them. You need a conversation
Walk around
starter.
with them a little bit. Yeah.
That's like in the UFC, Tim Sylvia won the heavyweight championship belt, and he literally wore it non-stop everywhere.
Wow.
He'd wear it around his house. Like
Wow.
it was anytime you saw him, he had that
Yeah.
belt on.
You would have put so much work into that, and you probably just could not. Like, is that it? Did you just take it off?
That's
I
right.
couldn't believe somebody could be like that.
Oh, outrageous.
Outrageous.
But you,
So boastful.
Let me take that moment real quick and talk about what I'm seeing behind. That's you, isn't it?
It's best we don't. Yeah. Well, it's a saintly version of me. Yeah.
It's so good. It's actually so good.
Thank you.
I would hang that up in my living room.
Yeah,
If I had one.
my wife wouldn't.
She was up for it.
She didn't like the idea as much.
It was
as you
it was
do.
a charity auction, and I think that the painter. How did that story go?
Oh yeah, well I was an auctioneer at a charity auction, and we the artist, there was a quite high reserve on it, about $8,000 and $4,000, and so I'm calling the auction and nobody was bidding, so I threw in a bid here, and the other lady that invited the artist, out of embarrassment, she bid it as well, and so we're bidding back and forth, and we get to about $1,800, and the bid's with me, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call it out 3 times, and I think we'll just pass it in and move on.
Yeah.
First call, second call, third call, bids with me. No further bidding then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the artist came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, that's okay. You can just sell it. It's like, I don't want to. I don't want the money. But anyway, it's all for charity and sold to me, $1,800. And then she said, oh, what do you want? And I said, oh, whatever, what do you do? She went, well, I really like doing like Greek iconography. And I went, oh, okay, that sounds good. And so she said, oh, so I'll just do something for you. I said, sure. And that's what turned up.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it. That's so great. She did well.
Yeah, she's an amazing artist.
She did
Yeah,
well.
she really is. If she had a better subject, it might be a better painting as well. But so do you see a future where you might turn pro? Like, is that on the cards? Is that something you'd like to do? Is dedicate your life to the craft in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 25.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to give it another couple years
Mm-hmm.
and just see how far I can take it, and then move on to something different. I feel like I'm not going to be in this for the rest of my life, but I'm going to just hammer it as hard as I can for this time.
Excellent.
And I'm going back to the US and just going to learn more and try and see how far I can take it.
And you were mentioning May might be that window
I'm
of
going
you
in
heading
May.
back.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And going back to the B team.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then what's the aspiration? Go back to Worlds and dominate again, or
Do it again next year. Yeah. I mean, the expectation is now that I can, perform well again, I guess.
Yeah.
At the next level. It's just going to be a matter of, how much can I improve and who shows up on the day and all that sort of stuff. But I'm genuinely enjoying it. It's not about getting to a certain point. It's about, just progressing from day to day. So it's just a good ride right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How did the matches go with your? Do you remember each one? Do you have a special? You trying to set up? You said you go for the back usually with a rear naked choke, but how did you go in that tournament? Do you remember a couple of the finishes that you got?
Yeah, so 3 of them were rear naked chokes in the back. Yeah, and then
Keep it consistent.
And then there was a mounted triangle. There was an armbar.
Mounted triangle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was cool because somebody was coaching me. There was a guy from Melbourne actually who was competing as well that day, and we had all sort of traveled together. And he was on the sidelines, and I was in the finish locked up position for the mounted triangle, but I couldn't really cinch it up tight enough to really get the finish. You know, like I was almost there, but she wasn't quite tapping, and I was like sort of looking up to him, and he said, turn your body sideways and walk your hands around to like go to her legs. And I started walking the wrong way, and he's like, no, I'm the way. And then I walk around the wrong way, the right way, and she taps, and I'm like, okay, thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I kind of feel sorry for that girl hearing that going, oh, no.
Oh, no, that is the right way. It's getting looser for me. Keep doing that.
Stop back.
Oh, amazing. So you got 3 rear naked chokes, mounted triangle. What was?
There's an armbar, Kimura.
That's 6. I think there's one to go.
Oh, was there another one? What was there?
And did you have to fight through to the submission, or was it time?
I didn't have to. It could
You
have
just
gone
got
to
them.
points, but I got to the submissions. Yeah,
Every
so it was
time.
good. Yeah.
That's great. That's what you want to see. I hate points. It's like I don't want to see the match finish. You know.
Yeah. That's the most exciting part, isn't
Absolutely. What rule set did they play that under?
it? That was IBJJF rule set. So you get the standard points from like the traditional rule set, I guess. Like I think ADCC is like the big counterpart to that, where it's a little bit harder to score. And IBJJF is like relatively easy to score, and then I think 7 minutes is what I had on the time. So
Right.
7-minute matches,
Yeah.
points, and then.
What do you think of the EBI rules?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had one EBI match when I was in the US, and I'm really glad that didn't go to overtime, because we were drilling a lot of overtime, and I was like, I don't really want to do this. Like, it seems very artificial. It's cool in its own way. Like, I feel like it can be very entertaining to watch. Yeah. I think I like them all. They're just very different rule sets to prepare for.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. EBI, Eddie Bravo, it's invitational rule set. You always get a finish, but if it does go through the time period, which is a standard match, and nobody has won, then they'll go to like an overtime sort of period where somebody will start in, say, a spiderweb position. If the other person escapes, then it's like the other they swap positions, and if you get out before they did, you're the winner.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you sub them, you swap positions, and it's like, can they sub you faster? So
Yeah.
It is always a finish, and they've gone for that entertainment side.
It's really interesting as a lot of these sports kind of, a lot of these martial arts emerge into or evolve into sports, and all of a sudden viewership and sponsorship money starts to play a bit of a role, and you start getting these modified rules, sometimes for the benefit of the viewers, and you start to, well, I guess that happened with the traditional sports some years ago, like cricket and football, and now you're starting to see it in the martial arts world, where a lot of these changes are done in order to make the sport more appealing to the people on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
So what is the pathway for you to go pro now in the sport, do you think?
It's a really blurred line. We don't have the Olympics. We don't have the UFC. You don't really sign with anyone like that, you know? Like, I guess people go to one that they would sign for grappling matches and whatever.
Yeah.
But ADCC is really the big one. So what I just did, the World Championships under IBJJF, they're cool, that's important, but it's not where like the future of the sport lies.
Yeah.
The future of the sport is in ADCC. So there you win trials, which are regional. So you basically compete for the continent that you live in. I can't do them here. I have to go back to Europe, because that's where my passport's from. So I do them in Poland at the end of the year. And then when you qualify, you're the best person of that region, and then you go to the ADCC World Championships, basically. So that would be like, gold standard for the world. And that's open as well. It's not by belt.
Right.
So, like, it's just, I would be competing against like the top level black belts.
Yeah.
And so that's like a different sort of journey, I guess.
Yeah. Are
So-
you still ranked purple at the moment? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even the world championship level, what do you got to do to get a rank up here?
I feel like it's so different. Like doing well in a competition is so different to like actually having all the knowledge that you need to sort of get to the next level, I guess. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
Eventually.
So is sponsorship a thing? Like, where's the sport at in terms of that? Like, is there many athletes able to secure sponsorships so they can pursue their dreams? How's that going?
Yeah, I think that's growing for sure. Yeah, the top guys, they can. I think they all sort of support themselves through sponsorships. These of them publish instructionals, so they're basically teaching, but like as like a video format. Sponsorships are definitely a cool deal. When I first started doing super fights, so I'd already competed a little bit, and all of a sudden I did like the 1v1 styles. That's where I started being sponsored by Hook's brand, which is like a cool grappling clothing line basically. So they've been supporting me since then. That's been really cool. And other than that, really, it's just a bit of a journey to get there, I guess. Yeah, but I think it's growing. People are definitely doing it.
So when you get to America, do you have to work at the same time? Like, how does all of that work for you? Like,
I'm gonna go on a tourist visa, so I'm saving up money right now. And then
so not working at all, though.
no, just to be very clear,
not working.
To any of the authorities that may or may not be listening. Yeah, yeah, definitely no one-on-one training.
No private lessons, no prize money.
No.
Is it 3 months on a tourist? Is that how it works? Yeah.
I'm trying to get on a 2-year one, but even that is still a tourist one.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'll go back and forth anyway. I'm going back to Germany soon because I'll do the trials for ADCC in Poland, and then I'll stay in Germany for a little bit, and then I'll go back to the US. So it's a little bit of back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
No proper settling down for me just yet.
No. So where's
Maybe
home
eventually.
for you now? Where do you feel home is? Like you've just come back to Australia for a little while before you jet back to America, and then you're off to Europe. So where's family for you now?
All my family's back in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've lived here for 4 years, but now I'm packing up all my things, getting rid of all my stuff, and then basically taking everything I own over to the US. So then I guess I'm just going to have to see how long I can stay over there, and then maybe like start making Germany my base, because then coming back here, I'll be a tourist as well. So it just all gets a little bit tricky right now, just visa-wise, you know.
And did you come to Australia as a student, or how did it come to Australia?
I was a student back home, and I came on an internship. So I basically got on the working holiday visas.
Right.
And I was working, but I was a working holiday maker. And then I did the second year and the third year. And then somebody sponsored me to get a COVID visa, where basically they kept you in for another year, so you would work in the country, really. And now I've just run out of all the temporary visas, and that's it.
Gotta go.
Well, when I lived in Canada for a while, and one of the guys that
was there, that's the accent then.
Yeah, that's what you're hearing here. It's that Queen's accent. Don't go and started on that. But one of the guys because I was staying in a backpackers hostel, and one of the guys there, we lost the microphone. We might give that a nice bit of a tighten there. Yeah, it's one of those windy ones. It's all right.
I love it when we've got strong athletic guests. They just fix their own shit up. This is great.
That's all right.
I'll listen to stuff myself.
It's all right. We'll get there.
Well
See
done.
if we can grab the hold of the TV, Dave, so it doesn't fall.
There's a lot going on in studio right now.
There we go. That's the way to do it.
Amazing.
That's stranglehold strength right there.
Look at that.
We all good? Yep.
Looks all right.
I think it
Alright,
looks all
we're
right.
back.
I
Sorry,
think-
guys.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. No, it's not you.
Right on the edge there.
Yeah,
All
don't-
good.
We'll blame me.
Yeah.
I think I might have put that up there.
Yeah, so, but there was a guy from Israel that was living there as well, and he had one of those same deals. It was like 3 months or whatever. But every 3 months, there was like a boat you could take, and it would go out to like an island, and then they would stamp your passport, and then he'd come back, and it was like I don't know, 2 hour trip out.
Yeah.
And then you could come back on another 3 months, and he'd do every 3 months. He'd go and do this boat trip thing.
And just got back in. Nobody ever asked any questions or whatever. You just kept doing it.
That's right.
Snap the thing.
Let's go.
Like 4 years or
Find
something.
that island.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or go to Canada and back.
Yeah,
But
that's
it sounds like very definitely for you, in order to, like, if the future in sport works out the way that you'd like it, it looks like America will be home for you.
I think so, yeah. I mean, that's where the training is just beyond everything else. You know, I think people get really good in Australia. People can probably get really good in Germany as well. I think it really just catapults you onto the next level if you spend as much time as possible in a room with really just like good people.
Yeah.
And the thing is also that you just get your questions answered. Like you can really just walk up to anyone and say, hey, like I always have the same issue right here. Can you tell me what to do? And instead of sort of working it out or asking, you know, around and trying to find answers, they really just, they know so well. They're like, I'll just do this and this and this, and that's going to give you a good option. And then if you can't do that, there's 2 other follow-up options here. So I feel like I just learned so much by just being in that room. And I'm going to try and be over there as much as possible, you know, like I don't think it's realistic for me right now to be there full time all the time, but it's just going to be a little bit of back and forth and just try to make it happen as much as possible.
Well, you're very definitely the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So the more time you spend with those people, the more time they spend with you. Now that you're a double world champion, so
I'm sure I can teach them lots of things.
well, thanks so much for coming into the podcast, sharing some of your story, and
so fun.
and it's just amazing for us to have a world champion on our podcast. So for a very first one. So thank you very much for being.
It's been such a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you.
And if people want to follow your journey and to see what you're up to, where can they kind of follow what's going on in your world, Nora?
All sort of on Instagram. That's like my main thing. Nora_Naomi. That's my second name. So that's where everything happens.
Nora Schultz, ladies and gentlemen, double world champion, and thank you very much for coming in and sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we'll look forward to hearing more from you very, very soon.
Absolutely.
We'll get you tuning in from the US when you get over there. And love it.
We'll do that.
Awesome. Nora versus Gordon Ryan super match coming up soon.
Tune in soon.
Confirmed. Official. You heard it here first.